channel. If this is the first time you're seeing any of my videos, where have you been? Click the subscribe button and don't forget to click the bell, because every time I upload the super brand new content for 2019, you will want to get a notification. Welcome back. My name is Bwandunji and I am a writer who is on a journey to publish a book. So, I took a bit of a hiatus. I wish I could apologize for that, but I can't. Your girl's doing so much better. I was so stressed at the end of 2018 with NaNoWriMo in November and writing every day and vlogging every day. It was such a great challenge, and I think it will make me better at bringing content to you. But I was so stressed out. And in December, I had a few things that were going on, and it was just like, I'm going nuts. And so my body and my mind literally retreated, and so I sat on the couch with Baden and watched Christmas movie after Christmas movie and did nothing. It was the best holiday ever. But I am back and excited to continue on this journey with you. The other thing that I was doing, aside from sort of planning for this channel and just relaxing with Baden, I was stressing. I was obsessing over the story that I had written for NaNoWriMo. How is the beginning? This doesn't seem really strong. I don't know anything about writing. I drove myself absolutely nuts. It was crazy. And so I decided that I would do some learning. How do you help yourself? You learn a little bit. So I picked up a book from the local bookstore, and I have been studying it. As you can see my tabs, I've been studying it and doing the exercises so that I can have a stronger beginning to my story, which is where I think things sort of fell apart for me. And the other thing, like everybody else who has Netflix, I watched the KonMari method. What's the name of that show? Hold on. Tidying Up. The day it came out, I watched it all the way to the end because I was on holiday. And what do you do on holiday other than Netflix and chill? Of course, now I'm obsessed with decluttering my space. I hope you had a great beginning to your 2019. This is my birthday month, which I'm very excited for. And it is also the birthday of my channel, so there might be a little party to attend. I don't know what that's going to look like, but there's going to be a party. Bring gifts. Of the WILAW series, this is number 3. I'm going to be talking about something that I experienced when I was reading a book. I think it was last week. When I talk about things that I find in books that tend to be slightly negative, rather than naming and shaming, which I feel is sometimes like what we do when we talk about a book that hasn't met our expectations or does something that is weird. I'm not going to be naming the book or the author. Instead, I'm just going to tell you what I found problematic, then have a small discussion about it. The reason why I stopped reading it was not because of the thing I'm going to talk about. I stopped reading it because it dealt with incest. Growing up in Uganda, you cannot even marry somebody in your clan. And when someone is in your clan, okay, so there's a tribe, and then the tribe is divided into families, which are clans. And the idea here is that you can trace a relationship between people who are in a clan. People in the same clan cannot get married. It is actually a scandal of gigantic proportions, newsworthy, if somebody marries someone in their own clan. So to get to the point where someone is discussing sisters having sex in a book, I just closed it and walked away. I couldn't do it. I'm going to read for you a little bit from this story. It's something that I definitely need to discuss. This is from Book X, Chapter Y. The next few minutes were a flurry of cold pizza, warm beer, and meeting the members of Soul Chain that were present. Maturity, go figure, did sign language interpreting. The other woman, Rainey, was dark brown with long, straight black hair. She wore faded jeans, a plain black t-shirt, a rainbow-colored metal bracelet on each wrist. She played drums. Jeff, a pudgy, light-skinned brother with freckles and cornrowed red hair, guitar. Solaris looked to be about 15, but was probably older. White, thin to the point of transparency, but with a strong handshake, bristle of blonde hair. Piercings everywhere, seemed to be wearing a brace on one leg under the jeans. Mid-range, androgynous voice. I first thought Solaris was a guy, then a girl, maybe. Then I gave up trying to figure out which. it would become obvious at some point or not. Andy, an older guy with black earplugs and a sleeve of tats on both arms, played button box. Bree, of all things, tambourine. Bree sang lead and the rest of them backup vocals. Maturity signed as she sang, though they all teasingly accused Andy of only mouthing the words. Hallam, he of the thumping bed, and Cleveland would show up later. They were dancers. I don't remember where I read this, somewhere on the internet. If a character is not important in driving the plot forward, if they just exist as an interesting character, then it becomes very, very important to not name them. When you give them a name, you describe who they are, you show the protagonist's first impressions of this particular character. What you're telling the reader is this character is important. You need to keep this character in your mind for later reference. So that is the thing that you need to ask yourself about a character whenever it is that you introduce them to the reader. Is this person important in driving the plot forward? If not, don't even name them so that we don't store this information somewhere in our minds. When I am reading this particular section of chapter, what I'm thinking is all this information is important. All these characters are introduced in a short paragraph, and somehow I'm supposed to retain all this information. Who was wearing the rainbow-colored bracelets? I can't remember. I remember Solaris looked like a guy, but there were a bunch of other people in there. I can't remember who they are because they were introduced way too quickly. All at once, with descriptions that were supposed to give me more information about who they were. They didn't speak, they didn't move. Somebody was doing sign language. I don't remember her name. Do you? Because it has been mentioned, then the stress level increases for me, the reader, because I'm thinking, this is important. I have to remember who these are, because have you ever had the experience of reading through a book, then someone says a name and you're like, oh yeah, they were described. Then you have to go back and find out how they were described so you can have a picture in your head again. And by the time they got to the incest part, we didn't go back to those characters. So I was storing information for no reason. Can you tell I was upset? I actually stopped the book and ranted about it for about 5 minutes to Baden. Poor thing. So what I have learned from reading this short paragraph in this story of book X is that it's important for me to introduce my characters differently, to give readers information about them only if they serve to drive the plot forward. The secretary poked her head in through the door, so that you know that there's a secretary, but there's no information about her that you need to keep in your head for later because she's not going to do anything for the rest of the story. The other thing also is that when you're introducing a character, saying what it is that they're wearing or what you can observe about their body is not a great way to introduce the characters. Instead, what I would suggest is, say for example, Solaris was 15, probably older, white, thin to the point of transparency, but with a strong handshake, bristle blonde hair, piercings everywhere, seemed to be wearing a brace on one leg, maybe under the jeans. Instead, what I would do is have her do something. Now, I don't think Solaris is important. I did not see her up to the incest point. I did not see her come back into the story in any significant way. What is she doing with the brace on her leg? What do you think is happening there? Or if you're talking about the handshake, have her say something. Or the person who was wearing the rainbow metal bracelets, maybe she's clapping her hands as they're singing and you can hear the jangle of the bracelets. It's important that the description of the character ties in with an action that they are performing. If you want to describe their hair, have them do the flick. Scratch it so that you can see the wig moving around or something. It has to be an action, and that helps it be more memorable rather than just using bullet points to tell us what these characters look like. These are the 3 things that I'm going to be doing with my characters as I proceed from this point. Number 1, if I'm going to describe this character, I'm going to use it with an action. I think it's a better choice to describe someone by showing them use their body part, their unique body part, or their voice, or their hair, or whatever it is that I'm describing, to use it with an action because it makes it more memorable. It sticks in my head better, and I'm sure it sticks in other readers' heads better as well. Number 2, if there are a bunch of characters that I'm introducing at the same time, as not to do it with a bullet point list. This is who it is. Look at them waving their hair and brushing the this and wearing the that and limping over here. And then so and so came in and this is what they did. And that is the collection of that description can be too dense and difficult to remember for the reader. The third thing that I am going to be doing is making sure that if a character is not important in driving the plot of the story forward, they will receive very little mention, probably no name at all, because I want the reader to have a clear picture of who this story is about and who are the important characters to watch. This is important information. That's why I've given it to you. That is what I learned from writing, and I hope that you have learned something as well from this. Final announcement. In 2018, I was holding write-ins on my channel on Tuesday mornings at 9 o'clock. That is going to change a little bit simply because my work schedule has changed and Baden's work schedule has changed, and so it needs to change to Monday mornings at 9 o'clock in 2019. I will go ahead and schedule it on YouTube, and it will take the usual format, the 20 minutes of writing and then a small break and then 20 minutes of writing and so on for an hour and a half. And I hope I will see you on Monday bright and early at 9 o'clock in the morning. We'll start off the week right. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you have not yet subscribed, you need to go ahead and subscribe. It is 2019. Subscribe to the channels that you like. And don't forget to ring that bell button. Click on it so that every time I upload a new video, you get a notification. And that way, the great content that is coming in 2019 is something you don't miss. All right, take care of yourselves, and I will see you on Monday. Bye!